Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted property is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you this: if I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. I'm going to open up with a fantastic quote because I love these. My encouragement: delete the energy vampires from your life. Clean out all complexity. Build a team around you that frees you up to fly. Remove anything toxic and cherish simplicity, because that's where genius lives. And that's by Robin Sharma. And that leads me perfectly into this incredible conversation that we're going to have on the podcast today. Today, for the first time, and I don't know why this is the first time, because this guy could be on every single week. He is absolutely incredible in the wholesaling business. Listen to this, everybody. This guy is approaching his 1,000 deal, right? He's almost done 1,000 deals, and he went on and he reached out to 160,000 property owners in 50 days. And oh, by the way, they were all in different states. 50 days, 50 states. He was looking to do a deal in every single state. If you don't know him, you certainly will after this podcast, because your mind, your brain will be filled with gold when you listen to this guy and what he's going to give you in this podcast. It is my pleasure to introduce, from the gritty, from the hardcore Fort Worth, Texas, Mr. R.J. Bates III. R.J., say hello to everybody.
What's going on, my man? Hey, I just want to say something after that great intro. I have to give you an intro that no one else is probably giving you, okay? So way back when we did this thing called the Closers Olympics, you were by far the best judge in the Closers Olympics. I just want you to know that, because you were the only one that picked me to win every single round.
Well, in all honesty, I think that you blew everybody away. And listen, we're not gonna dig up skeletons there, but I don't think anybody was even close to you. And that's really what this is about. I mean, first, I want you to really, give people the background on how you got into the business, but more importantly, what we want to do on this podcast for everybody listening and everybody watching is give you really strong tools that you can take, because nobody, and I'm saying this like knowing pretty much everybody, nobody closes like RJ Bates. I mean, there's 3 parts to this business: lead generation, conversion, and exit strategy. And that middle part, that conversion part, this guy has an incredible gift for, and he's going to share some tips and some strategies and tactics on this podcast. So it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So RJ, when did you get into real estate?
Yeah, 2014 is when we started. We did the typical hotel seminar, $60,000 education, barely learned enough to be dangerous, right? For $60,000, we learned 70% of ARV minus repairs, make your offer. And we actually started off by doing deals off the MLS, because they didn't teach us how to do direct to seller marketing. And so, luckily enough, being in DFW, the real estate market was super hot, and wholesaling off the MLS was actually achievable. We found a little niche for ourselves, which was we were finding not off market deals, but on market deals, and we were selling them to people out of state. And so the value that we were bringing was these were deals they didn't know existed or how to contract them. And they were newer investors looking to flip. And that's how we provided value. But it didn't last for very long, but it made enough money, and it made us realize wholesaling was real. Prior to that, Cassie, my partner, and I were general contractors. So we were doing remodels, and we figured out we were on the wrong end of the game, right? We were doing all the work and not making a lot of money. And that's when we found out about wholesaling. We went through the education, started wholesaling the MLS deals. And, very early on, I have no fear inside of me. And so I chose to, hey, let's go to other markets. Let's go to San Antonio. Let's go to Austin. After we did, 2 or 3 deals in those markets, we expanded to Phoenix and Portland, Oregon. And from there, we just started doing deals in other locations, because we I basically identified, hey, there was nothing that we were doing special in Dallas or Fort Worth that we couldn't do in Portland or Phoenix. And why not go to those markets? I felt like they were higher price points, which meant those higher price points meant larger assignment fees. And so we went into some of those markets and made those larger 20, 40, $50,000 assignment fees. And from there, we just kept on going and eventually started flipping houses, buying rentals. And now at this point in time, we've pretty much done everything that you can do with single family real estate. We've done some smaller multifamily, but man, it's been a wild ride over the past, I guess we're approaching 7 years at this point, which doesn't seem like it, but that's the first time I've actually said 7 years, but it's been a wild ride over those 7 years.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible what you've built. I mean, you've been in this business for 7 years, and yet, you went live to get 50 deals in 50 states. I mean, this is live, guys. This wasn't like RJ was doing it behind, closed doors and nobody saw what was going on, and he's just posting like random checks or something.
Right.
He was live. You were live doing this whole thing. What made you do that?
So shout out to my buddy, Aaron Bevins. He kept talking about this book called Relentless, written by Tim Grover, about Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant and Dwayne Wade. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to do it. I love Audible. So I listened to it in Audible. And when I listened to it, I basically just couldn't stop listening to it. I mean, it was like Tim Grover was speaking to me. He basically laid out that I am the ultimate cleaner. Like this is why I have some of the faults I have. And this is why I have some of the success I have. And so as I'm listening to this, the thought came to me, I should do 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually nervous. And I said, hey, Cassie, I got an idea. And I know we need to be laser focused right now, right? Because as entrepreneurs, we come up with these things that we need to be doing. And at the time, it was, let's be really laser focused, okay? And I was like, listen, I just read Relentless, and it really explained who I am as a person. And so I know you're probably not going to like this idea, but I need you to not shoot it down for me, okay? Because I need to do this. We need me to do this, okay? So I said, we're going to do 50 deals in 50 states in 50 days, but I'm going to do it live on YouTube and Facebook. And the reason why is because the world is going to be my accountability partner, right? Just like when Michael Jordan decides he's going to go hit the game-winning shot, he puts the pressure of the whole world and his whole fan base and all of his teammates on his shoulders. That's what I was doing to myself. And she said, I love it. She said, I don't know how we're going to do it. I mean, North Dakota, really, RJ, North Dakota? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, why not? There's people investing in North Dakota. Let's do it. The worst thing that I can do is fail. And that's okay, because we failed many times before, right? We've always recovered from it. But me, I'm not going to let myself down in front of all these people. So we're going to go do it. And that's really how the idea came about. There really wasn't a whole lot of thought outside of that. It was, well, she asked, how are you going to do it? And I said, SMS through batch leads. And then she said, are you sure batch is going to be okay with you going live using their product? And, because what if you don't do it? And so that was kind of a tricky phone call I had to place to Jesse Burrell and just ask him, like, hey, man, do you trust that I'm good enough at this to use your product live in front of all these people? And he said, absolutely. No questions asked. And Batch helped out with that. And let us use their platform live for those 50 days, man. And it was a wild ride.
Incredible. And when RJ says SMS, he's talking about text blasting, right? So he's getting lists. Where were you pulling your lists in each state from?
Batch. I mean,
Batch. Okay.
98% of it.
Okay, batch. So listen, batch services is taken over. I mean, they're really making everything seamless, and they've got you're able to pull lists from them. You're able to put it in, you skip trace it and put it into your text blasting, and then just go. So how long did it take you to get 50 states worth of data and numbers and everything? How long did that take before you could get started?
No, dude, that was the beautiful thing about it. Come, let's say day 22. I remember this because 22 is the number for titanium. So we made that Hawaii, okay? Because Hawaii is a special place for us. It's where Elijah lives, my best friend and partner. He lives out there. So day 22, when we started, it was 9 a.m. Hawaii time. I start off by buying the phone numbers, pulling the list, skip tracing it, all right there live. I mean, we're talking about the first 15 to 30 minutes is me setting up the campaigns and getting everything rocking and rolling and just basically talking to the audience. And then after that, the next 7.5 hours was me talking to sellers.
So when you are pulling a list, what list are you pulling from batch leads?
So during this, I was very heavy on, high equity, vacant, absentee, tax delinquents. Some of the states I had to get a little bit tricky on because, for example, say like Rhode Island, if we did out of state absentee, vacant, that list failed. Okay. And the reason why is because those were people those are their vacation homes.
Mm-hmm.
These are the wealthy people. They don't 100%. Want to sell that, but in another state, for example, like Texas, that out of state absentee is going to be a landlord who wants to sell. Potentially, you know? So it was interesting as we went along how I gained knowledge on the location itself and what list to pull. And so basically just throughout the day, I would pull a small list, test it out, and after 300 to 400 texts, I'd be like, this is working, or no, we got to reboot the system here and go pull a different list to figure out what was working.
And that's huge that you say that, RJ. Test. I tell everybody that, the beautiful thing when you're being proactive and you're reaching out to the property owners is you get feedback quickly. Right. So you can figure out in an hour or 15 minutes or whatever else. I mean, if you're calling, it takes a little bit longer to talk to enough people to understand if this list is good or if it's not, or if it's been beat up or if it's been stomped on too much. And then you switch to something else. But then you need to know. I don't like making assumptions. People go, oh, well, I don't want to work in X market or that market because it's, totally destroyed if you try to go after vacant houses or whatever. You know what I mean? Well, have you tried it? Have you tried it, using this type of filter on it? Have you tried vacants that are absentee owners, right? Some of these different things really change whether or not you're going to have success and have those people. So definitely the moral of that is make sure you're testing. Don't hallucinate and just assume that you know what's going to happen before you even test it out. So I think that's brilliant, RJ. The next thing is, once you get these leads, how are you closing? You're closing all these on the phone.
So it was actually funny because to watch people's reaction to me not immediately jumping on the phone with people, they were shocked that I was completely okay with attempting to sell or close the deal through SMS, through the text message. And I kept repeating this almost on a hour by hour basis through the whole challenge, which was I'm allowing the seller to tell me how they want to be closed. If they want to have the conversation through text, then I'm not going to say, hey, we need to get on the phone. I'm going to continue to text. Now, if they call me or if they say, hey, we need to talk, then absolutely, I'm going to get on the phone with them. But I was really following the lead of the seller. And that's pretty much how I do almost all of my closings, which is just really using my intuition and just getting a read on what the seller wants. I mean, there's a certain level of having empathy for a seller, but there's another level of understanding what they're going through. We do real estate transactions every day. They might only do 2 or 3 of these their entire life. This is a big moment for some of these people. Mm-hmm. And so to really put yourself in their shoes and think about, they might not want the Viking of real estate on the phone with them. That's a nickname somebody gave me, by the way. They might not want me on the phone trying to close them right then. They might want to take their time and think about their responses through the text message. And I'm okay with that because that's what they need. And by giving them that leeway, I think that helped me convert a lot of these people.
That's extraordinary. I'll be honest. I always push and tell people, and even my own company, get them on the phone as quick as possible. Get them on the phone as quick as possible. But I'm gonna test that out. Say just like you said, sell them the way that they want to be sold, or close them the way that they
Right.
want to be closed, which is beautiful. So one thing that always pops up, RJ, is a question that I get all the time is, how do I do lead follow up? How do I do lead follow-up? So RJ, how do you do lead follow-up?
Well, remember that book called Relentless? I mean, it
Yep.
needs to be relentless. I mean, that's one thing that I'm not going to change how I do follow up. I mean, even if I feel like the seller wants me to give them time and space, I want to stay on the forefront of their mind, And so it, I was going back through the campaigns. So, say like on day 25, I'm going all the way back through the previous 24 campaigns, and I'm doing follow up on those people every single day. And a lot of it was just like copy and paste what I had said previously, right?
Yep. Yep.
Trying to streamline the process for me, but keeping in the forefront of their mind. And then at that point in time, if I felt like the seller wanted me to have the conversation through text message, but after 3 or 4, they've just kind of ghosted me, that's when I'm picking the phone up and I'm getting on the phone with them, and really trying to press the issue at that point in time. Because what are we waiting on? We're essentially, something's happening in their life where they're not wanting to close the deal per se. And so I'm wanting to try to find out that solution, or the problem, so I can offer them a solution. So the follow-up was really just about organization within the batch lead system by the campaigns.
Yep.
And then just regularly on an hour by hour basis, going back and checking all of them and making sure everybody's touched every single day.
Love it. And it's interesting when you're pre-qualifying these leads. I talk about condition of the property, timeline to sell, motivation, and price. And something that I saw from you, not only from your lives with the 50-50-50, but also in the competition, was you are the master at shortening timelines. You are.
Great.
Like, I mean, and you don't mind getting even a little bit aggressive with it and be like, listen, I need to buy something like today. Like, yep. Go into that. Is that natural? Is that what you do every day? Is that the way that you approach leads? Or is that just because you were on a clock and you're, live? Is that you, with no cameras on?
No, that's me with no cameras on. And that's a beautiful thing about having a partner who can close deals just as well as I can, because she's a completely different type of closer, right? Cassie will sit there and she'll have the 2.5 hour long conversation and find out the grandkids' names and the dog's name and everything like that. For me, it's just much more black and white. This is what I'm calling you for. I actually just did a video on my YouTube channel called Rapport is Irrelevant. Because to a certain degree, I feel like it can be, because a lot of people preach at how important building rapport is. And then I think it becomes more about building rapport and less about buying a house to some of these people. And so for me, It's about reading the seller again and understanding what I believe the seller wants me to say and how to function, right? If it's an elderly woman who wants to find out more about me and ask all the questions because she's scared, then yes, I'm definitely going to slow down. I'm going to have more of a smile on my face. And then I'm going to ask more questions to her and answer her questions, be empathetic of her situation. But if I'm talking to a landlord, which this is, by the way, part of the reason why I pulled the list that I pulled, I prefer to talk to the businessman, the landlord, the guy that's tired of the property. And he doesn't want me to build rapport because he wants to go on and buy a house himself. He just wants this one gone. So at that point in time, it's just very straight shooter, right? And that's the one bit of feedback that I got from everybody is they couldn't believe how just straight to the point I was. And it was funny to me because I'm like, how else are we supposed to be? Like, why wouldn't you want to just be straight to the point? Yep. I'm respecting my own time. I'm respecting the seller's time, and I'm just getting down to it. But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, that's very much how I am on a everyday basis.
Well, I think, one thing that gives you that the ability to go straight at them is you have a lot of leads. Like
Yep.
if you only had one or two or three leads, you would be cherishing them. You'd be holding on to them. You'd be, trying to do whatever you could and, go and send them cookies and drop by their house and bacon pies and whatever else. But because you have so many leads and so many opportunities, you're looking for people that are ready to sell right now. And the fact is, in this business, you find what you're looking for. If you want massive deals, look for massive deals. If you want to find somebody that's going to sell this week, look for somebody that's going to sell this week. And that's exactly what RJ is talking about. Not only is he talking about it, but he's showing it through his live, not only lead follow-up, but lead generation that he's doing. So it's absolutely incredible. Give us some tips. Give some people that have never done a deal, RJ. Give them some guidance on how do they feel more confident going for the close, going to be able to ask people to either sign a contract or to give them the price or to pre-qualify. Like, help us out.
Well, I think first and foremost, don't be afraid of no. No is your friend, right? When you get to know, that's the start of the negotiation, right? And so you need to get no out of the seller. If you just go straight into it and you get a yes, honestly, you probably made a mistake. And when I look at, my performance per se in the Closers Olympics, unfortunately, I look back at it and I say those are two of my weaker negotiations because there was a clock and I wasn't really negotiating. I was just going for the yes.
Yeah.
In a day-to-day basis, you want the seller to give you a no because that allows them to feel like they're in control.
Sure.
Right. And so don't be afraid of no. And if it's your first ever time to try to talk to a seller and you're trying to get your first ever deal, don't be afraid of losing the deal. Don't be afraid. No deal is better than a bad deal.
Right.
Right. Yep. A bad deal, I cannot tell you how much time and energy I've wasted on contracting a deal too high because I was afraid because I didn't have any other leads. So let's contract this one and maybe I'll be able to find a buyer for it. And in turn, I'm just killing my business. So just don't be afraid of walking away from it. So that's the two things that I would say right there that maybe people aren't necessarily looking for in this answer, but it's like, don't be afraid to not get the deal and don't be afraid to get told no. But in order to actually get a deal, go in and be yourself.
Yep.
Like, I am not trying to be Steve Trang when I'm closing a deal. I love Steve Trang. I thought he was amazing. I think he is one of the most talented closers I've ever seen. Yeah. I will never be Steve Trang. I will never be able to close like him. I'm only going to be able to be myself and just slow down first and foremost, take a deep breath, realize that there's no pressure. Like there's really not. And just slow down and think about if you were the seller, what would you want in the situation? How would you want to be treated? You don't want to be treated like those people that, knock on your door and try to sell you something. You want someone to truly think about the situation that this seller's in. If you were in their shoes, to believe in what their story is and try to be a problem solver. You're not buying a house, you're solving a problem, right? And so just really slow down and be a problem solver. And if you go in and you focus on those three things, don't be afraid of losing the deal, find no, and solve a problem, you're not going to have any issues. You're really not.
I love it. And, Tom Kroll's been saying it since 2015. And you just echoed it in your own words, RJ, where at least with wholesaling, not creative deals or anything like that, we're deal finders. We're not deal creators. Yes. Okay. If you're going and you're pushing and you're trying to do all these things, just like you said in your own words, listen, no deal is better than a bad deal. Right. And if you're trying to create something, it's going to be a bad deal. Right? We find these deals, we don't create them. So I think that's so powerful. So I want to ring this bell here, RJ. I want to have some fun with this. Tell me, can you break down a deal that you did on this challenge or this year, whatever deal you want to break down? Let's break it down.
Well, actually, I'll use a deal that we just closed just now from the 50-day challenge. Okay. And the reason why I want to use this one is because there was a lot of obstacles that we had to overcome to get to the closing table. So this deal, when it came to us, it was in Arkansas. When it happened, I lost my mind. I mean, I had a Brent Daniels moment. I mean, I was hooping and hollering. I don't know if you ever saw, but I had a makeshift bell. Okay. Cassie had a tin can, and I used a wooden spoon, and that's what I would hit was my bell. Okay. So I believe the ARV on this was like 260,000, and we contracted at 50,000. Okay. Now the repairs on this was very high, 120,000 plus. Okay. Very large home, older, needed everything. Okay. So we contracted it. I was thinking we were going to hit, $50,000, $60,000 assignment fee. I really thought we were. But come to find out, we ended up selling it for around a $15,000 assignment fee. Okay. Found out a lot about the market, about what the buyers needed, the permitting process, especially in this area in the city of Little Rock. So again, we're learning as we're going in these new markets, right? So anyways, we assign it. We get to a week out from closing, and our buyer's like, hey, I've got to change lenders. I need you to get me an extension. Now, if this happens in Fort Worth, I'm going to be pressing the buyer a little bit because I'm like, dude, I got another 20 of you guys waiting for this deal. In a market where this is my first ever time doing a deal, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll go buy you some more time. So we got the extension. And then there ended up being the property taxes on the property where they were considering the property to be occupied and already remodeled. And so the seller was having to pay a lot more in the prorated property taxes. And then the buyer's like, hey, I don't want to be paying the property taxes for an already remodeled and occupied property. So then we had to go fight with the city and the county to get the property taxes removed. Then there was a title issue that came up. And so now we're like 90 days into being contracted. And out of the blue, the buyer calls me and he says, hey, man, I need you to drop your assignment fee by $5,000. And he knows he's got me in a bad position, right? Sure. He knows I can't just cut him and go find somebody else. He's now using leverage against me. And so I get on the phone with the buyer. This is the first time I ever spoke to the buyer, right? My dispositions person had spoken to him all the way up until this point. And so I get on the phone with him, and it was a 45-minute conversation. But essentially, I walked him into why did he need the price reduction? And why was that fair? And I use that word with him very often. Why do you think this is fair? And eventually, he finally admitted, it's not fair to you, so I don't need a price reduction. Now, it took 45 minutes for us to get there, but he eventually admitted it to it. Now, I felt like, King Kong, and I'm walking around like, boys and girls, did y'all see that? That's how it's done right there, okay? That was a $5,000 phone conversation. Well, I felt good about it. Well, what I found out was the buyer realized he had the leverage, but he wasn't going to win today. He was going to use it later on. So he then, at the closing table, calls me and says, this is how much cash to close I have. And you're going to have to take a $2,500 price reduction right now, or I'm not closing. Sellers had already signed. Title companies called me saying, all right, RJ, what do you want to do? And at that position, there was nothing else that I could do. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because I had to put my pride, ego aside and say, I just told them, I said, I know why you're doing this. I have no other choice than to accept this. But I'm doing this for the sake of the sellers, because that's what we're truly in this business for, is to help sellers. So I accept the price reduction and we close the deal.
How much? 12.5?
12.5. Now, I wanted to share that one because there was so much that went along with it, and it was all new to us. All this being in a new market, new title company, new buyer, everything. These are the things that are going to come up during these kind of closings sometimes. And there's nothing that we could have done about each one of those steps other than what we did. Handled the situation. I never got emotional about it. We never counted that we were making $15,000 prior to the check being deposited in our account.
Yep. Well, and listen, he could have said, listen, I need you to, I only have enough, and you're going to make $1,000 on this. You know what I mean? Now you're like, the seller's already ready. You're bent over a barrel right there just because, you're not doing a lot of deals in Arkansas. You probably won't do deals in Arkansas. You're just proving that you can get out into any market and do this business, which, is incredible. But man, sometimes this happens with buyers. And unfortunately, it happens with a lot of people going into either newer markets or just new to the market. So it's really, really, if you are in Fort Worth, you need to connect with RJ. If you're in Phoenix, you got to connect with me. There has to be some umbrella protection that you have so that you can feel confident. Whatever market you're in, find somebody that's got a really good reputation and whatever. If you have to split deals with them in the beginning to get your foundation with the title company and with financing and with real cash buyers and everything else, it will save you so much. And it's a cautionary tale. It really is. It could have been really ugly, but you stuck to it. And trust me, I know that it kills you that you had to give up that $2,500. You don't need the $2,500. You're fine, but it kills you that they played it like that because it's just bad business and it's gross.
Absolutely.
And it feels gross.
But I will say this, Brent, to your point about you guys always say it, squad up, right?
Yep.
That's what allowed us to be able to do this. I have group chats in my Facebook Messenger that are literally called Operation Wholesale Baltimore now. And it's with my 3 people in Baltimore, Operation Wholesale Kansas City. I have these. And it's with the people that I connected with through these lives. And now we are doing deals in these other markets with these people. Because you're absolutely right. I still have leads coming in Baltimore from my one day in Baltimore. I don't really have a strong desire right now to set up a full branch in Baltimore, Maryland. But I know people there, and they're good people, and they know the right title companies. They know the right cash buyers where I'm not going to be put in where I lose leverage in a situation. Yep. And so, absolutely, we do it all the time, man. I love how y'all came up with that squad. I'm almost envious at times. I'm like, man, why didn't I think of that?
That's right. Well, tell everybody your company name. Tell everybody where they can find this 50 deals in 50 days in 50 states, recordings. Find how they can reach out and how they can reach out to you.
Yeah. So our company's Titanium Investments. All of the recordings are on my YouTube channel, so just search RJ Bates III. I'll have a very angry look on my face, like I'm screaming, like I'm scary, but I'm actually just a really happy guy. I have to put on some kind of persona that I'm angry. I don't know why. And yeah, man, just follow us on YouTube, and then I have my podcast, The Titanium Vault. At some point in time, I'm gonna have Mr. TTP on there himself.
Let's go.
He's already agreed like 3 times. I've totally dropped the ball. I don't know how I do that, but no, Brent, thank you for having me on here, man. It was an honor to be on your show.
Thank you. So much value, guys. I'm telling you, definitely check him out. And if you are anywhere in DFW, especially Fort Worth, where the real gritty real estate investors live, make sure that you definitely connect with RJ, especially if you're starting out and you need some help. You need some help either comping properties or walking through the process or selling your deals. Go to RJ and Titanium. They have an unbelievable reputation around the country. So definitely check them out. A couple resources, batchleads.io. You can use a coupon code TTP on that. It is phenomenal. It's going to blow you away. It is incredibly powerful. A lot of people listening to this podcast are already on there and using it and loving it, but batchleads.io, coupon code TTP. And if you are interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP. That's wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Scroll down, check out the testimonials. You're going to have to scroll for a long time because nobody has more. We have the absolute best people in the program, but I'd love to work with you one-on-one. That's what it's all about. It's about the mentorship. Check that out if it feels good in your gut. Sign up for a call, and that's it. RJ, you crushed it. Thank you so much, brother. And to everybody else out there, I love you guys. And as always, I encourage you to talk to people. Till next time. See ya.